I'm the very proud chairwoman of the Democratic Party of Virginia. Happy to be here today. Please don't let a little rain stop us from changing and saving the soul of our nation, right? So it might be a little chilly, it might be a little drizzly, but our spirits are high. We've got hope in our hearts, and help is on the way, folks. Help is on the way. So, one more piece of business. I've been asked here to say, please don't leave after all these wonderful speeches that you're going to hear. Mark Warner is timing everybody, so they're going to be short. But they do want you to come get your packets, so you could, get the job done. And so if you would just wait and get your packets after this is over. Okay, elections have consequences. We know that. And because of the trifecta last year, because of Governor Northam, the Democratic General Assembly, House and Senate, we had progressive reform on many fronts, but most importantly, election reform. That's why, as of today, 2.7 million Virginians have voted. 2.7 million Virginians. Democracy is on the ballot. And in Virginia, 68% of the people that voted in 2016, numbers-wise, have now already voted. So we can see the finish line, thanks to you all, for everything that you have done, everything you're going to continue to do to elect Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, re-elect Mark Warner, Elaine Luria, Bobby Scott. Let's send Qasim Rashid to Congress to help him out, and all of our Democrats up and down the ballot. Tim Kaine asked me about my hat. It's from a group called American Aquarium. P.J. Barnum, you ought to follow him. I don't even care if you don't like country music, you still ought to follow him. He's a brave individual. He's a North Carolina, across the border on South Side North Carolina boy who is speaking out a lot about what's going on. He's got a song called A Better South. I believe in a better South. I believe in a better South too. I believe in a better United States of America. Let's go, save democracy, restore the soul of our nation, and restore our standing in the world. Now I have the pleasure of introducing someone who helped us with those election law reforms and made sure that people had a way to vote easy and accessibly this year. Your own delegate, Mike Mullin.
Thank you all for being here at the center of the blue wave here on the peninsula, Williamsburg. Oh, no. Let's try that again. Welcome to Williamsburg, the center of the blue wave here on the peninsula. I'm not going to lie to you, I have stood on this same spot for year after year and said this is the most important election we've ever had. But I can tell you, next year, if I say that, somebody hit me. Because it's not the case. This really is where democracy is on the ballot. We have to make sure that we elect wonderful candidates up and down the ballot, starting with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. A year and a half ago, we showed how Virginia is no longer a purple state. We are fully blue. We have made amazing changes to be able to protect our LGBTQ community. We've made amazing changes to be able to reform our judicial system and to make sure that more people have health care. That's what happens when you elect Democrats. We have a lot of amazing candidates up here who we need to make sure that we re-elect, but I want to make sure that we also elect Qasim Rashid to Congress. And so without further delay, Qasim Rashid.
Democratic nominee for U.S. Congress right here in Virginia's 1st District. When we launched this campaign back in January, I don't think anybody in the world could have predicted what's happening right now and where we are right now. But I think it speaks to the passion, to the tenacity, to the conviction of every single one of you that's gotten us this far. I've had the privilege and the pleasure of meeting with many of you in person. I've personally had the privilege of working with Senator Warner, Senator Kaine, Kaine, my professor in law school. So I've been fortunate to have some amazing teachers. And where we are now, this is not just about one election. This is not a moment. This is a movement. This is a referendum on the kind of country that we want. We have seen 4 years of division, of hatred, of vitriol, of the breaking down of every single norm of society, and we have an opportunity in electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and re-electing Mark Warner, and hopefully in electing myself to the first district to revive a sense of compassion and dignity. And I know we're facing some difficult times. We have, 235,000 of our neighbors have died of this horrific virus. We're fast approaching 10 million infections. 30 million Americans are out of work. 46 million Americans are living below the poverty line. And the one message of hope that I want to share with you is that this is exactly the kind of problem that nations have faced in the past, and in particular our nation, the United States, to overcome these problems. And what I know will happen is we will revive the vision that James Baldwin talked about when he says that I know that which I ask of you appears impossible, but the impossible is the least that one can demand. For when you look at the spectacle of human history, and of Black history in particular, you are emboldened by witnessing nothing less than the perpetual achievement of the impossible. So my most sincere, my most earnest ask of every single one of you here is to continue to lead with compassion, continue to fight for that equal justice that our Constitution calls us to fight for, continue to help us form that more perfect union so that we can win on November 3rd, and we can get to work on November 4th to ensure that every single person in this country has access to that same equal justice that our founders envisioned for our country. Thank you so much. God bless all of you.
Hey, I just want to say thank you. Cold, rainy day with just a few days left, and look where we are. Look at this parking lot. Look at the enthusiasm, look at the excitement, and look at all the hard work you're doing to elect in the most important election of our lifetime. Here's what I'll say, and really quickly. From start to finish, right up here, I can tell you how proud I am to stand with every single person in this line. Look down the line. You have incredible character, you have incredible intelligence, and you have people that report to work every single day for you. I am proud of each and every one of my colleagues, and one of whom that I'm super glad to have here is my seatmate in the Senate. She's a senator from Richmond City. She's a candidate for governor next year, but when I went to Richmond, they said, hey, if you're not sure what to do, look at your seatmate and see what they're doing. Well, guess what? I got smarter on the spot because I sit next to Jennifer McClellan.
So it is a pleasure to be here. I'm going to keep my mask on because you wear your values, and my mask is a Vote Like a Mother mask. And I vote because I am a mother who does not want to hear another son ever call for his when he has someone's knee on their neck. And I am a mother who does not want to see children in cages separated from their parents. I'm a mother who does not want to see a government and a president who can't even figure out how to navigate a crisis. And we're in 4 crises. And I'm a mother because I'm here to support another mother, Congresswoman Elaine Luria. But don't get me wrong, I like dads too, and I like single people too, so I'm also here to make sure that we re-elect Mark Warner. I'm here to make sure that we elect Qasim Rashid. And I'm here to make sure we all do our part to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And finally, I am here to say thank you. Because we are here, this blue wave did not start overnight. It started with you. It started with your phone calls. It started with your texts. Back when we could knock on doors and canvass, you laid the groundwork to turn Virginia blue. You are going to be the difference in the next 2 days between a kind of victory and a blowout. And we need a blowout. So thank you for everything that you are going to do between now and 7 p.m. on November 3rd. It is now my pleasure to introduce another member of the House of Delegates, Jay Jones, who has done an amazing job since he has been in the House. I think he's got a future, though.
Hey, Williamsburg, how you guys doing? I just want to say thank you, because you guys could be anywhere else today, but it's raining, it's cold, and you know what's at stake, and so we are so incredibly grateful for you. Senator Warner said we got to be brief, so I have a really easy job today. One is to say thanks. Two is to introduce the person who brought most of us here. It is my friend, Congresswoman Elaine Luria. You guys all, exactly. You guys all know her. We have all worked so hard over the last couple of years to make sure that she could go to Washington and represent us, live up to our values, to represent us with distinction and dignity. I've been with her so much over the last few weeks. She is a subject matter expert on all the things, armed services, all the things that are valuable to Hampton Roads. We know how critical this seat is. Getting to that majority ran right through Virginia Beach in the 2nd District, and doing it again happens on Tuesday. So, there you go. So with that, I will be incredibly brief and bring on our Congresswoman, Elaine Luria.
Good afternoon, Williamsburg. It's always great to be introduced by my delegate, Jay Jones from the 89th District. And it's great to be back. Feels like we were here last week, right? But the Kaine and Elaine team is back again with a lot of friends. And thank you, Governor, for joining us, and Senator Warner, and all of our other friends and supporters. I'll tell you that we can't do any of this without you. When I look back at where we were 2 years ago this weekend, we were going into a tough race that people didn't think we could win, and we didn't have the majority in the House of Representatives. But we won this seat, and this seat, truly, the road to the majority in the U.S. House, went through Virginia's 2nd District, and we won it. And I like to pause and think about where we would be right now. Where would our country be if we didn't have the majority in the House? If we didn't have a single check on this administration? So the work that you did 2 years ago helped me get to Washington. It helped us win the majority in the House, and we're going to keep that majority, and we're going to keep this seat on Tuesday with your hard work. I'll just tell you, it's been a privilege to serve you as your representative in Washington. The president just signed my 7th bill last week, a pay raise for disabled veterans. And even more exciting is the bill sitting on his desk right now. 5 years of reauthorization for Chesapeake Bay funding. I look forward to going back to Washington to continue to represent Hampton Roads and all of the issues that are important for us. And like Jennifer said, our values, going back to stand for our values here in Virginia. And it's my pleasure to introduce someone who truly needs no introduction, but truly represents our values, who has been working hard day in and day out in Richmond throughout his term with the General Assembly to pass those laws that have allowed us to vote early, brought more equality, brought more resources to the Commonwealth. Our Governor, Governor Ralph.
Hello, Williamsburg. It is good to be back in 757. Elaine, thank you so much for your service to Virginia, your service to this country. Do we have a lineup here today or what? I don't know about you, but I'm proud to be a Democrat, and when we elect Democrats, good things happen in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I just want to take a couple minutes, Senator Warner has said 2 minutes and he's going to come yank this microphone out of my hand. So I'm going to be quick. I'm going to yield my time to Senator Kaine and Senator Warner. But I want to thank you all. We talked about the blue wave. The blue wave wouldn't be alive and well in the Commonwealth of Virginia if it wasn't for all of you that are here today, that are willing to go and knock on doors and make phone calls. Thank you so much on behalf of the Democratic Party in Virginia. Keep up the great work. We've got 2 days to take this across the finish line. And I want to thank my fellow legislators. Because of their work, we can vote 45 days early in the Commonwealth of Virginia with no excuses. We have worked for so many years to make sure that every American, that every Virginian can exercise their right to vote. In every step we tried to take forward, the Republicans would try to take us back to. Well, let me tell you something. This is why elections matter. Let me tell you another reason. Right now there are about 450,000 Virginians, count them, 450,000 Virginians that have access to health care because of you, because of these men and women. Can you imagine during a pandemic that we're experiencing here in Virginia when about 1,000 individuals a day are being diagnosed with COVID-19, these individuals not being able to be able to go and see their provider? That is criminal, and because we as Democrats have vision, now these individuals can go be taken care of. I'm one of them, Pam's one of them, and there's some other folks here as well. This pandemic is serious. We have a president that says we've turned the corner. Really? We have a president that said that this virus was going to go away like a miracle. Really? We had a president that said that everybody could get a test. Well, everything that he said has been untrue. That's why we need new leadership in the White House. That's why we need to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We've got 2 days left. Let's get us across the finish line. Thank you all so much for being out here. Keep up the good work. Let's keep this blue wave going in Virginia. So I want to introduce a friend of mine, a friend to all of you. He is the 70th Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, now your U.S. State Senator. Please welcome to the podium Senator Tim Kaine. All right, Tim.
Hey guys, great to see you. Honk if you love democracy. I'm so thrilled to be back. I was here last Saturday, so I can't just repeat what I said, because a lot of you were here, and Mark told me, you got to do your speech in 2 minutes. And I said, well, Mark, this includes my introduction of you. He said, no, you can take 5 minutes for that one, but 2 minutes of speaking. It is really a treat to be here with you guys. And on a rainy day, remember, I was inaugurated here as governor, and it was a really rainy day. And every time I come back to Williamsburg when I was governor, it would be raining. And somebody said to me once, about halfway through my term, you know, we're starting to call this Tim Kaine weather. And I said, it's funny, I'm starting to call it Williamsburg weather. But it is really good to be with some hardy Dems who will come out when it's cold and raining. You guys have done a great job, and I know you're going to do a great job between now and Tuesday. So good to be with so many wonderful people. Elaine Luria, what a great partner. We all work together so closely. As I said last Saturday, when you get a good congresswoman, keep her. Keep Elaine. Make sure we do everything to keep her. Do what you can in the first to elect Qasim Rashid. He was a law student of mine many years ago. Delightful, wonderful person. He'd make you proud in Congress. I want to say about Ralph Northam. Now, Mark's not going to like me saying this, but I've got Ralph, and then I've got Mike, Monty, and Jen here from the legislature. I have lived in Richmond since 1984. The Northam administration has one more year on it. I already think he has compiled the most progressive record, legislative record, of anybody who's been governor during the time that I've lived here. And he's got a year to go. And he's got a year to go. Now, he did have some help. And he would, as he acknowledged it. Mark and I, when we were governor, we were battling with two Republican houses, and then one each my last 2 years. And when we try to do simple things like make it easier for people to vote, they'd stand in the way like a brick wall. Equality for women, like a brick wall. Raise the minimum wage, like a brick wall. We tried so many things that they wouldn't let us do. But your efforts have been part of the biggest political turnaround in the United States. When Mark ran for governor in 2001, we were redder than red in every dimension, at every level, local, state, federal, presidential, redder than red. And now 20 years later, we just had an amazing run, and it's been because of you. No state in this country has turned around as much as Virginia, and that's because of you. Yeah. And that means that a Ralph Northam can go to a legislature and get equal rights amendment ratified, and LGBT protection, and common sense gun rules, and protection for the Chesapeake Bay, and raising the minimum wage, and making Virginia one of the states where it's easiest to vote in the country instead of one of the hardest. So you guys, we owe you a big debt. Give all of these state officials All right, one last thing before I introduce Mark. And, you know, I talked about this last week. We just have to win this election with Joe and Kamala.
Yeah.
What we have learned is you just can't take a flyer on putting somebody in leadership who doesn't know how to lead.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't do it with the greatest nation on earth. And it's not like, oh, you know, okay, it didn't work out so well. No, people died. A lot of them. A whole lot of people died. Social division unlike any I've seen since the mid-1960s. An economic collapse unlike we've seen since the beginning of the Obama administration, really the end of the Bush administration that Joe and Barack had to clean up. And so we took this flyer, 63 million, and a whole lot of people sitting on the sidelines at home said, well, let's take a flyer. And what have we gotten for it? We've got death, and we've gotten economic depression, and we've gotten social division. That's what comes about when you do this. And as I've gotten older, I'm 62 now, I've kind of realized when bad things happen, it's almost more because of the bystanders than the perpetrators. There will always be perpetrators of bad things, human nature. But for bad to really happen, you got to have a lot of bystanders. And sadly, in 2016, we had a lot of bystanders. What we're seeing with the early vote suggests that people want to participate and engage, and they don't want to be bystanders. And what I believe is that the message people are overwhelmingly sending, and what we'll see Tuesday night, and as the votes are counted and come in Virginia first, we close first in the nation, 7 o'clock Eastern. We can send a strong message in our own performance, but I think what we'll see is that Americans want to re-embrace character and compassion and competence to trade out for death and division and depression, and that's what we've got to do on Tuesday night. All right? So, I want to introduce my friend of 40 years. We met in the spring of 1980 when we were both law students at Harvard. We did not meet in a library or a class, I will tell you that. But we had been friends who kind of reconnected during the Wilder campaign in 1989. And then I worked on Mark's first race for the Senate in 96 when I ran for city council in 1994. One of the first checks I got in the mail was from this guy from Alexandria. When I was running from the Richmond City Council, I had the opportunity to serve with him as his lieutenant governor during a very challenging time. He came in to governor. He's no stranger with what Joe Biden's going to deal with, having to climb out of a ditch. Mark came in as governor at a really tough time, but I got to sit there and watch him lead this state in an honorable way, every day working so hard for the good of everybody, and I get to see the same thing in the Senate. If we take a Senate majority, we have a real good chance to. Mark will be chairman of the Senate Intel. A key responsibility to do the one thing that's really job number one for any public official that President Trump flunked on, keeping us safe. Yeah. That's what Mark Warner does every day, and we are so glad, so fortunate in Virginia that he's ours. So give him a big round of applause, Mark Warner.
Thank you, Tim Kaine, for that 2-minute brilliant exposition. Tim and I have been friends for 40 years, and you know, one of the things, sometimes senators actually of the same party end up jousting. Tim and I think, cover the waterfront pretty well for the Commonwealth. Tim's on Armed Services, he's on the Help Committee, I'm on Intel and Finance and Banking, and you know, there are days where he'll go to Western Virginia, I'll go to Hampton Roads. He is my friend, he is my colleague, he is still younger than me. Give it up one more time for Tim Kaine. Let me tell you, it is right. You mentioned the fact back in the Wilder campaign. I've been in to so many Democratic events over the years. And it is so great to see so many people here from not just Williamsburg, but James City County. And the fact that you guys put this event on. But I've been doing politics long enough that I remember when John McGlennon was young. Well, first district chair, oh my gosh, still a great professor, member of the Board of Supervisors. When we, when I wouldn't have to ask somebody like Jay Jones, who, by the way, you have earned incredible kudos from me. You kept to that 2 minutes. When, we could have all taken 20 minutes because the total number of Democratic elected officials would be like 2 or 3. These are great legislators. These are great congressmen, senators. Let me acknowledge the only thing that I would say, Elaine, I'll come back to you in a moment. You did bring forward our governor, but I have to recognize there was many things I loved about being governor. And the truth is that the day that Tim got sworn in here in Williamsburg, and I had to leave the governor's mansion, there are still fingernail marks on the floor as they had to drag me out. But the one thing that we did not do in terms of recognizing our governor is present him the appropriate way. So I want to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, could you please once again recognize His Excellency, the 73rd Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Ralph Northam. And you all did the appropriate thing because, in Virginia, when the governor's introduced, you're supposed to stand up. Lisa and my girls never went along with that. I think Pam and your kids never gone along with that as well. But Governor, we are so proud of you, what you've done. I will echo what Tim has said. You have, because you've had great partners in the legislature, you have moved this state so forward progressively. And we live in a fairer and better state because of your leadership. So thank you. Thank you. And let me echo as well what Tim said. We need to retain Elaine Luria. She has already, in her first term, established herself as a leader. And one of the things, I don't want to, like Elaine, give you advice at this point because you're cruising towards victory, but I think I would have mentioned that you were ranked either, I can't remember, number 1 or number 2 most effective new member of Congress. I think that's kind of a rehiring comment. I think, we may have to do this a few more times, and, we just got to make sure, and she does. She brings an enormous background from the military and an area like Hampton Roads that we honor our veterans, we honor our active duty, and thank you. And Tim and I look forward to continuing working with you for many, many years to come. Elaine Luria. I'm going to try to adhere to my rule as well. Although now that it's stopped raining, maybe you need my whole 14-point plan on broadband, But this election, let me acknowledge this at the front. I have been guilty. Orton, it's nice to see you. I have been guilty, as Tim has at times as well, because we have an election every year in Virginia. We normally come down to these last couple of days, whether it's a state election or a federal election, and we always come and say, and this is the most important election ever. This year we're telling the truth. Oh, yeah. This year we're telling the truth. Because we are voting, I think as everyone has said, we're voting with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, with 2 great candidates and great ideas, and I'll come to those in a moment. But in many ways, we're really voting on what the heart and soul of this country is, yes, and what it's going to be. Yes. Because for so many times over the last 4 years, and I see this particularly from the intel standpoint, our country's been embarrassed. I think Americans have been embarrassed. Because Mr. Trump, on so many ways, has not even reached the kind of minimum standard of decency. I don't even get to competence, just decency. And I say this, and I know most of us here are Democrats, and I don't think this, frankly, is a reflection on Democrats or Republicans. He is a unique specimen in and unto himself. And I know in COVID times, time gets a little funky. Days merge, you can't remember what happens when. But if we just think about 4 things that Donald Trump has done literally in the last 6 weeks, Governor, any one of which would have been an incredible firing offense in and of itself. It was less than 6 weeks ago that we discovered that Donald Trump called our veterans And ultimately, those who've made the ultimate sacrifice, so now suffers and losers. No, anyone who served this country and those who paid are the ultimate price, they are heroes, not suffers and losers. And we owe them the respect, the benefits, the mental health care needs that they deserve, not to be disrespected. And it was literally just a couple days after that we found out, and as Tim has indicated, it didn't have to be this bad with the virus. That as early as February, Dr. Northam, that Donald Trump knew this virus was much more serious than what he told the American people. Could you imagine anyone in a position of power that wouldn't have told the truth about a public health emergency? And yet people have still said, oh, they're still going to be supportive? I don't get that. That's how we've turned the idea of following doctors and wearing a mask into a political statement. No, this is about science, and as Jennifer said, it is about respect. And then a few weeks later, in the first so-called debate, or I just call the first interruption fest, Donald Trump in front of 70 million Americans and literally the rest of the world watching, couldn't even hit 2 points. But I have to tell you, I think almost any other elected official, Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, Vegetarian, could have hit. The idea that when you're asked in a country like ours, as diverse as ours, will you reject white supremacists? He couldn't even say that. He couldn't even say that. And to take it even a step further, when he was saying, after the American people vote, will you agree to a peaceful transfer of power? He couldn't bring himself to acknowledge that as well. So let's make sure this vote is record come Tuesday. Let's make sure we build on the 2.7 million Virginians who've already voted. So there is no question in anyone's mind that we take back this country so the rest of the world says America is back, both militarily, economically, but also based on our values. Because with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we are going to make sure that science rules and we get the virus behind us. We are going to not get rid of Obamacare, but we're going to improve on it and make sure that we can actually bring down drug costs. We're going to make sure the promise of Medicare and Social Security, and as somebody, as Tim reminds me sometimes, is now both the senior senator and a senior citizen, that Medicare and Social Security stuff makes a lot more sense. And can we, as we get this economy reopened, one of the things, as a former telecom guy, high-speed internet broadband connectivity is a necessity in 2020 and going forward. And there is a way to make that happen. And for all these students here, we need to take advantage of these record low interest rates and refinance all the student debt in this country to below 3%. If you can get a mortgage for under 3%, you shouldn't be paying 7 or 8% for student debt. That will happen after Tuesday. That will happen. But maybe the most important thing that I hope out of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden, we may not agree with every one of his policy positions, but the thing that Joe Biden has, he has enormous heart and empathy. And what I pray, and I've gotten to know Kamala really well, Tim and I, she's incredibly bright. She's a pretty good tuna melt maker as well, as I've learned. But my hope and prayer is that Joe Biden, literally within days of getting elected, will go to some part of our country, and there'll be many parts you could choose, that didn't vote for him, and suddenly say, you know what, we are done with pitting red states against blue states. We are the United States of America. We are stronger together. We have our partisan views, but we can disagree and still be Americans. That basic sense of decency, that is all within our grasp. But we've got down to 72 hours, and you can do almost anything for 72 hours. We've all probably voted here, but there are still millions of Virginians potentially that we need to get out. So let's make sure we elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I respectfully ask you to rehire me so we can make Mitch McConnell no longer majority leader. You know, Tim, it's come a long way when Mitch McConnell's a bigger applause line than even Donald Trump. When we rehire Elaine, when we hire Qasim, there we make sure We've got another possibility out in Cameron Webb, out in the 5th District of Virginia. Abigail Spanberger's going to come back. Obviously, Bobby Scott, Donald McEachin. Let's keep this blue wave rolling. Thank you, Williamsburg. Thank you, James City County. We will turn the page. America will be back. Thank you all. God bless you. And for those of you keeping count, that was only 2 minutes.
Thank you.